Well, I think we gained a lot of confidence and certainly momentum. And we have our rosters pretty much back intact. Got a lot of returners coming back. Almost all of our seniors are coming back. So I think that's a really good sign of, the culture of our program right now. We've had good leadership here for the last couple of seasons. That's kind of, bled into the summer. So I think we're in a really good spot. Obviously, we got to, learn from the spring season. There's certainly things we're going to have to do better here as we head into summer camp. But, really excited to, have the ability to have fans back in the stands here in Delaware, and things moving closer to what would feel like the beginning of a normal camp.
All right, questions from Kevin Tressolini. Go ahead, Kevin.
Hey, Coach Rocco, I know the University of Delaware is requiring returning students to have the COVID vaccine, unless there's a religious or a medical reason not to. How important do you feel that is for your team? And, do you expect the team to be, pretty close to 100% vaccinated?
Well, I think there are a couple of different waivers that are being heard, religious and medical waivers that are being heard by the university. So if a student applies for that exemption, I guess the university determines whether they meet the criteria. So we certainly will have some of our student athletes apply and receive exemption with that waiver. I think one of the target numbers is 85%. There's some legislation, some protocols in place that if you meet 85%, that you can do certain things in a more normal fashion. And then within that, those that are fully vaccinated can pretty much operate as normal. Those that are not may have to wear masks and, be available for, testing here in the fall. But I do think that we're going to meet that threshold of 85%. And I do think that we're going to be able to return to what's going to feel like a much, much more normal camp, with the ability to assemble as a team and meet, with the ability to, eat meals together, and obviously, travel a little bit more freely. So I do know, though, that for a student at the university to return, they do either have to be fully vaccinated or have received exemption through the waiver process.
Hey, Kedrick, you guys were really, really good in the spring. You had a great spring season. I would imagine you all feel like you're going to have to be better this fall. What will that take? What will you guys have to do to be better this fall?
I think it just starts with picking up right where we left off in terms of being able to communicate and play fluid with each other. I feel that this defense has a lot of experience together, having had the previous season before the COVID year and then having the COVID year. I think that really helped us gain more, I guess I would say camaraderie between each other and understanding how we play. Also, this past year, these past 8 games was our first 8 games learning the new defense. So having a deeper understanding of our new defense coming into a full season will help us, and going through another camp and just staying tighter together makes playing way easier, way faster, and a lot more fun. We just know the guys next to you and know what they're going to do and know they have your back.
Hey, Dejan, let me ask you one too. What do you guys need to do offensively to be able to run the football better in the regular season, to be able to run the football this fall the way you did in the spring regular season, as opposed to the struggles you guys had running the football in the playoffs last spring?
Well, I think a lot of that just falls on staying healthy throughout the season. It's a long season and it's always a grind. Guys get beat up and we're laying out there. We're going to war practically out there. So just trying to get through the season healthy and make sure everybody's good, and not get frustrated when we do get, stopped just a little bit. I feel like everybody just communication throughout it and making sure we kind of keep fine tuning everything that we do, and just not accepting anything that's not perfect.
All right, next question to David Teal. Go ahead, Dave.
Annie, David Teal from the Richmond Times-Dispatch. Following an 8-game spring season, how did that impact how you approached summer workouts, just in terms of load management, making sure guys got proper rest? And do you feel like you're at right now where you would be after a normal summer entering training camp?
Well, I think the biggest thing is to be open to having all the right conversations with the right people. So I have spoken to a lot of people across the country, our peers, my peers that are, going through the similar process, and then communicating here with our trainers, our doctors, our strength and conditioning staff. And, our players in today's game, football players, college football players, they train year round. And what I wanted to be able to do was to create a little more space and time between our last football game up at South Dakota State and the next time that we started talking about football. So our guys have been training pretty much on a normal cycle, but we took a couple more weeks off before we started our summer access, when we were coming back together and studying film and really looking at football. So I think in that timeline, we were able to create enough separation to be able to come back with energy and enthusiasm. And I think the most important thing, though, is what we do from this moment moving forward. The off season is the off season. Like I said, our student athletes today, they train year round. I think the biggest thing is when you enter camp, your ability to recognize that this is when you've got to be, I believe, more in tune with the reality of a shorter recovery period. So we're going to do a few things here this year in our camp to continue to try to create a little more separation, a little less volume, and a little more buildup before we actually get into what you would recognize as, full contact football. And I think in doing that, we'll be even more prepared here for the length of the fall season.
Edric, did that extra time that Coach Rocco mentioned, did you find that beneficial just in terms of decompressing from the spring season?
Absolutely. I think Coach Rocco, as well as the rest of the staff, Coach Stu, and the whole nutrition staff, as well as the physical therapy staff and all that, they do a great job getting us prepared to compete at the highest level possible. I think that break that we had was great. I think it also was good to allow us to be able to train while still staying slightly away from some football things, but still getting in the weight room, still hitting the field, because all that's going to be important, and every day matters leading up to the season, especially with a quick turnaround like this. We didn't really have room to take months off at a time. Although we were playing football a lot longer than a lot of the people in this league, we didn't have time. We don't have time to sit around and not get better each and every day, because the fall isn't waiting. It's getting closer and closer as time goes by. So we have to really stay on top of our P's and our Q's.
Thank you.
Question for Daniel Steenhammer. Go ahead, Daniel.
Yeah, this question's for Kedrick. With the name, image, and likeness new interim policy passed by the NCAA, of seeing a lot of players across the country, including at Delaware, just capitalizing on that and working through that in new ways. What's that experience been like for you, being able to advertise your defensive backs clinic coming up, and how exciting is that for you and just other guys in the program to start really getting your feet wet with that?
Personally, for me, it's been great to have the opportunity to use my name, image, and likeness to somewhat profit off of. Speaking in terms of the defensive back clinic you're talking about, that's also coming up, and that's going to go great. It's just a way for me to be able to spread some of my knowledge to the youth and give back. Being a guy growing up in Delaware and always played in Delaware, you don't have the greatest coaches in the world telling you the best techniques to be successful at your level. So being able to have college experience, I was able to gain some more techniques and gain some more knowledge about the game and about defensive backs, thanks to the great staff that we have at Delaware. So I've just been able to share some of that knowledge with some younger guys and with some of my peers. And, I love doing things like that. And it just helps having the money be able to be a part of that is just a side thing. Like that's just something extra on the side. That's like, okay, cool, great. Now we can really do this. Now we can really, promote it the way it should be promoted and not have to sneak around and not have to be secretive about anything. Overall in the program, I think a lot of guys are doing a lot of great things on Delaware's football team when it comes to name, image, and likeness. I know some guys are having their own brand started. I know some guys are joining other brands. I know Dejan has some good things cooking up. I'm excited to see what the future holds in terms of name, image, and likeness, because I'm sure it's a growing process. Anything that's done right now this early would be somewhat rushed in the terms, but I like what everybody's doing. I think everybody's on the right path, and I want to make sure that nobody loses focus on the real opportunity and the real reason we're here and the real reason we're playing football. We're playing football to possibly make money one day, or just because we love it. And we're not doing the other stuff, the name, image, and likeness on the side as our main hustle. That's not our main ways to make it to the next level.
Next question for Rich. Go ahead, Rich.
First of all, congratulations to the three of you and the entire staff and team on the great spring and the strides that you made in bringing Delaware back to prominence. Coach, you mentioned this a little bit, but regarding the Hens team that'll take the field in the fall, the opportunities there for the entire team to be back if you and the individual players should decide to pursue that approach. Having said that, are there any players who played significant roles last year who won't be back? And kind of an associated question, how many of the 8 high school student athletes who signed for this recruiting or this past recruiting class will be available to play in the fall? I know you had mentioned there might be some gray shirts.
Yeah, well, I would say that, as you get ready to report for camp, there's always a possibility of a surprise, but to answer your question directly, I think everyone that contributed last year is back, so I was anticipating us really having the option to have, all hands on deck and with our current roster. And then with the incoming group, this is really an extraordinary time in our careers here, dealing with the COVID and the reality that we just signed a group of student athletes and that committed and have shown up here on campus that we'd never met before. And it's just, it's phenomenal to think how that happened. And when our freshman class showed up here for summer session 2, and we were all in the weight room with our masks up, and I'm walking around and just saying hi to everybody, they were kind of, saying, "Hey, Coach Rocco, it's great to meet you." And I was like, "Meet me? Like, you mean you never met me before? That's amazing," but in reality, that was true to almost every one of them, and so I don't know specifically. I think that whole group is, here and locked and loaded for the start of camp. I think the guy that we had referenced maybe bringing in at the mid-year, we had decided to bring him here in the fall or in August. So everybody should in fact be present here for the start of camp next week.
All right, got time for one or two more. Go ahead, Connor Metz.
Coach, could you talk some about how Nolan has recovered this summer from his injury late last season, and then what plans you guys plan to enact to keep him healthy over a 12-game season, whether it's him doing less scrambling or the offensive line? How do you plan to protect him better over a longer season?
Well, Nolan's had a great summer. I think a lot of my thought processes were kind of geared towards Nolan, in terms of I didn't want my guys out playing football as much as I wanted them in the weight room and resting and having nutrition. So we kind of backed off the schedule a little bit with the beginning of our summer access and just cutting back a little bit on the volume of throwing. But he's recovered. He's ready to go. I think that this past spring season, he made great strides in understanding how to protect himself better. He did a lot of things on the scramble where he was more aware of, maybe not having to try to score a touchdown every time he got in the open field, get a first down, get out of bounds, slide. He did a much better job here with that this past spring than he did the year before. We do have to shore up our protection. I think Dejan had said it very well that, as the season went on, we had a couple injuries in the offensive line, and that affected a whole lot of things. It certainly affected our ability to be consistent in the run game, but it also affected our ability to protect our quarterback. So all those things are kind of wrapped up into one. And at full strength, when healthy, I think those are the things that Nolan's going to have to do, make good decisions in the open field. And then we're going to have to do a good job of shoring up our protection.
All right. Unfortunately, not going to be able to get all these. We'll take one more for Dejan from Kyle Kensing. Go ahead, Kyle.
Yeah, Dejan, pretty crazy few months here where you go from winning conference offensive player of the year, doing the spot on Good Morning America, and then turning around, jumping right back into preparation for fall. What has this summer kind of been like for you?
It's been different, to be completely honest with you, because obviously, like Coach was saying, trying to think about taking care of your body. And, as a football player, all you want to do is play football. But sometimes you have to realize when you have to give yourself a break. And a break for us isn't like taking a day off. It's more so not getting two workouts in as opposed to just one. And I just have to I try to find a happy medium between doing a good amount where I feel like I'm ready for the season, but also making sure that my body's rested up and healed after that long spring season.
All right, guys. Danny, Kedrick, Dejan, thanks so much for taking time with us this morning. I apologize we couldn't get to all the questions, but need to stay on schedule. Good luck with you guys in camp, and look forward to seeing you play this fall.
All right, thanks, Rob. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.